You are officially in the loop. Welcome to In the Loop podcast. I am your host, Jordan Jo Hollabaugh, professional rodeo athlete, entrepreneur, and a full-time cowgirl. I'm married to my best friend, and we are blessed to get to do what we love every day, and that is travel around the world and rodeo. My goal on this podcast is to promote the Western industry and specifically the sport of breakaway roping. On In the Loop, we bring you behind-the-scenes stories of what real life looks like every day from cowgirls, cowboys, industry leaders, producers, trailblazers, and all of the like, sharing stories of the Western culture and the lifestyle that they live daily. You are now officially in the loop. Let's get to it. Okay, guys, so today we are here with the one and only Hailey Kinsel, 7-time NFR Qualifier, 4-time world champion. Hailey, thanks for coming to the show today.
Thanks for having me, but I have to remind you, I don't rope, right? Like when you asked if I'd come on here, I was like, is she confused?
Well, you did used to rope. Like you and I have talked a little bit about like, are you going to come back and be a breakaway roper? I mean, what's the deal? Like, just let everybody know what's the holdup.
The answer is y'all go too fast for me. No, yes, I did rope back in the day, and when it first kind of started picking up steam, I considered it. I did. I thought, well, that could be fun, give you something else to do. And then I watched, and all it took was one day of watching for me to go, you know what? That's not the level I was planning on it being. So, no, I'm breakaway roping's biggest fan from the barrel racing side, but I'm just happy to watch.
Well, I too am barrel racing's biggest fan from the breakaway roping side. Like you say that you're not going to get in. I'm scared to go fast. So like I ran barrels one time at Stephenville College Rodeo because everybody enters the barrels or, some other event you don't do at the college rodeo. Rode Tiata Gray's horse, and I literally hit every barrel. And I don't know if you would call it a canter or a trot, like a little bit of an in between. They called it a trot, but I literally did hit it, not intentionally, like was not trying to intentionally hit the barrels. It's just I'm that poor of a rider, and I'm scared to death to go fast.
Well, in that case, we should just stick to our specialties. And that sounds like that's safer for everyone involved.
I know it would definitely be safer for everybody in my path. I don't know about you. I think you can still go out there and breakaway rope. But yeah, so it's fun that we're here today, brought to you by Yeti. We're going to do some Yeti Moments of Truth. I've got my cup of coffee. I see you don't have your cup yet, but
I got it.
Oh, you've got it.
You've got it. Stay ready for moments of truth.
Exactly, because you've been battling the winds. We were just talking a little bit about the irony the wind is blowing a little bit today. And when I lived in Canyon, that was just an everyday occurrence. So we're just being thankful that it's not an everyday occurrence. It's just every now and then.
And I'm thankful I'm not in Canyon. That's for sure.
It really proves for some challenge. It creates adversity, and you have a lot of overcoming moments. So yeah, it's cool.
Exactly. That's what I tell myself when, my horses are bucking and everything's blowing around. There's sand in my eyes. I am building perseverance and endurance is that's what I say.
I am so thankful for this day.
Rejoice in your trials, right?
Exactly. Amen to that. So I want to start out. We'll talk about breakaway roping. I think one of the funnest moments this past year that I've had with you, moment of truth. You came up to me at the American Contender Finals, which I didn't recognize you because you looked like a normal human, which I mean, you probably don't recognize me when I look like normal humans too. So it's like we're cowgirl gear. But anyway, you look like a normal human. You come up to me and you're like, hey, I need to know what to say about the breakaway. And I was like, huh? What? And you're like, I don't know what to say. And I was like, yeah, you got it. And you're like, okay, go fast and don't make me look stupid. I'm like, okay, noted. You got it. So tell us a little bit about that experience as you were the broadcaster for the American Contender Finals into the American, and you got to be the breakaway roping broadcaster.
Yes. So when this started, it was at the regional tournaments, and I was just doing the barrel racing. I went to Vegas, I went to Kentucky, and I had a great time. And I guess it went well on the TV side because they asked me back to the Contender Finals, which was great. But I had missed the production meeting that morning. I was out of town, and so I came in, I guess, a couple hours before the performance started, and I went to like a pre-production meeting that we do about an hour before. And that's basically where we just run through the set list of everything, and there's timing. We look at the blocks and see basically when I need to be in the booth, and if there's going to be any features or anything going on, so that I can just be aware of that on the commercials or during the drags. And I'm looking at this list, and it says something about coming in early. I think if it started at 7:30, it said be in the booth by 7:45. And I'm thinking, well, it's a little early for the barrels, but okay. And then they looked at me and said, and you're good with doing the breakaway, right? And I'm like, apparently I am. And so I guess what had happened is I had kind of missed communication up until that. I didn't get an email about, being ready for that. So I was not prepared. And I like to be prepared, even though like I watch barrel racing all the time and I know the horses and the people, I still don't want to mess anything up. And I like to ask some backstories on some things. So I had roughly an hour to figure out what to talk about in the breakaway roping, because Jackie Crawford, who normally does breakaway roping, was entered. And so since she couldn't be in the booth, I got nominated to be up there. And thankfully, I'm with Luke Branquino and Katie Kaufman. I mean, you can't ask for two more professional people. And I just got to kind of spitball off of them. And it turned out okay. I did wish I'd had some more background information on some of the girls and the calves and a little bit of inside info, so that I didn't sound like a complete barrel racer watching breakaway roping. But I did my best. So yeah, I enjoyed that. I got to go back for the American, the big day. Thankfully, they did not ask me to do the breakaway roping, but I did actually do the steer wrestling and the bull riding. So that was also kind of funny. Didn't know I was going to do that. And thankfully I've watched those events enough to know a little bit, and they've been around pro rodeo a little longer. So I could kind of just rock on with those. And I hopefully didn't mess it up or make too many can chasing terms out of the wrong events. So that was my commentating experience. I should say it was a lot of like on the job training.
So what exactly are, barrel racing terms? Like, what would be a barrel racing term that you would say in the steer wrestling that you would think was a little out of character?
Well, I think I ended up talking about the angles or getting in there too tight or the ground. And I was really tempted to talk about the ground because, I mean, they're sliding through it, but yeah. I don't feel like that is going to bug them as much as it's going to bug me. So that's all I could think of. And I did with the steer wrestling, and I think the breakaway as well, end up talking about the horses a lot, because as a person, I guess my nature is to watch the horse. That's what I gravitate to. So I had trouble watching you guys do what you do because I was watching your horse, and I also recognize horses. So I'm sitting there thinking, I know exactly where this horse came from, who seasoned it, started it, trained it, and how it's bred, who owns it now. And that's all I wanted to talk about, and had to really refrain from gravitating to that, because I'm thinking the average fan probably could care less where this horse came from. They just want to know how the rope's going to go around the cow and pop off. So I do have to remember who I'm talking to also in those moments, and think, what do they actually want to hear? Is it what's going through my brain, or is it something totally different?
Well, and I love that too, but it is pretty interesting, the fact that I think before breakaway roping has really evolved to where it's at now, the genetics didn't play a huge part, the breeding, the training, all of that. It was just like, get a breakaway horse back in the box, run them, and now I think it is kind of cool. And I think fans are starting to maybe learn some of that, where it's like, I think barrel racers definitely paved the way to the genetics, the bloodlines, the training, all of those things. I think we're starting to see more of that in the breakaway. So that's kind of exciting.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. And it does give it a specialized element. I mean, more than just what you guys know behind the scenes of what it takes to practice your own craft, but to be able to tell somebody that I have a horse that doesn't just do this because I ask them to. They do it because it's in their blood, and they do it because they want to, and because we've fine-tuned every day all the details. I think that can go a long way with people. Most people love horses. So to be able to put a horse in a spotlight like that and say, this horse is smart, trainable, and bred for today, this exact day, this exact job, people of all walks of life can have a respect for that with animals. So it is really fun to talk about. And I've been excited to see that change as well. Although I will say that makes me even less likely to pick up breakaway rope, because if I did, it'd be on something bred to run and turn and probably isn't going to have the greatest stop in the world.
I think there's going to be I think you would be surprised, because anymore, I think breakaway is similar to bulldogging in the fact that your horse from the back of the box to the score line, it has to be extremely fast. And I know we see a little bit of everything, but I think maybe as we evolve in the breeding of breakaway roping, we're going to see horses that have more run versus less, maybe not less cow, but more run with cow, because it makes such a big difference. Like, I wish I could have sisters run from the back of the box to the calf. And then, I don't know, I'd have to pick a big horse to stop, but like sisters run and then a huge stop. That'd be great.
Hey, I think you're headed in the right direction. You just keep brainstorming how we can combine that without making it look like a giraffe.
Okay. Maybe I'll get like a dwarf with a huge stop, and then, we'll just partner from there.
Exactly. I just don't want to get it too tall to where you can't see the calf. That could be something we run into.
That might be a problem. So, second moment of truth question is, you are up there with Luke Branquino. I watched this video the other day and literally cried till I laughed. Several times actually, of you and Luke dancing at Rodeo Dancing with the Stars. And it was really amazing. I mean, I have so many questions with this question, but I'll just let you take it from, what was your biggest takeaway from dancing with Bam Bam and Dancing with the Stars?
Takeaway, embarrassment as to how many people were actually going to see that. So when I agreed to doing this event, this was for the Western Sports Foundation, and it was a fundraiser as well as a little bit of bringing awareness to what the foundation does, which, if you don't know, that foundation is for rodeo athletes to have access to physical and mental and financial help that you would see major sports teams have that kind of access and that kind of organization, but in rodeo, we don't necessarily have that knowledge or the access to those knowledge. So I've helped them for the last few years as an athlete advisor, and I've enjoyed working with them, but I do think they need more opportunities to be in front of the contestants or be in front of the people who support rodeo. I mean, a lot of people would hear that cause and want to get behind it. Oh, this goes directly to the athletes. So we come up with this concept of a dance competition. They asked me if I would enter, and I said sure. And at first, when I agreed to it, I thought we were dancing with other professional dancers, like actual Dancing with the Stars. So I was like, this could be fun. Yeah, and I could learn something, and I would look kind of decent. And then at some point they asked me, so are you just doing this by yourself, or did you want a partner? And I was like, oh, I thought I got a partner. Like, how do I get a partner? And they said, oh, you can pick anyone. And then I started looking at who the other teams were, and I was like, these aren't professional dancers except for Flint Rasmussen, which that's a whole other conversation, because I think it was cheating that he was involved.
It was cheating. He shouldn't have done it.
He is a professional dancer. Either way, I got to thinking about who I could do this with and have the most fun with. And of course, they also told me it can be any style of dance, even hip hop. And I was like, okay, now this could be fun. So I called Luke, and I don't remember if I called Luke or Lindsay first. I might have called Lindsay first and said, I need you to get him to agree to this. But I called Luke, and knowing that as my best friend forever, he owed me. So he reluctantly agreed. And after he agreed, he actually became the most competitive person in preparation for this. And I did not expect that at all. He kept wanting to practice. And we practiced more than I would like to admit, honestly, because it didn't show in our performance. But Lindsay helped me with the outfits. It was kind of her brainchild to come up with a shirt that had patches on it, just like we were professionals. But these patches came from Amazon and had funny sayings on them. And but did you die? So we had our cutoff sleeve shirts. We had tearaway pants, because
I saw Luke, that. That was
do something funny.
That was a big wow moment for me.
It was. It was a wow moment for everybody. bigger wow was when I got a FaceTime from Luke and Lindsay of him trying on these tights beforehand, asking me, should I wear the cow print boxers or the Donkey Kong ones? I'm like, I don't care, but please don't tell me.
You're like, I'm going through a tunnel and I'm losing you.
And I'm losing. There's a lot of static and there's a lot of yellow. Yeah, it was an experience working with them too, leading up to it. I may have been as much fun leading up to it as the day of. They're just great. And we also, on the day of, I was driving in, the rain was really bad, and Luke and Lindsay were already there per usual. They're on time and I'm super late. And I talked to Luke and we agreed to tell Lindsay that I was not going to make it, that the highway was shut down and she was going to have to sub in. And if you know Lindsay, she's the opposite personality of Luke. He's a complete extrovert and she is so quiet, behind the scenes person. So she starts freaking out, and everybody thankfully at the event just kind of ran with it. And we had her going for almost an hour and a half of that she was going to have to dance my part up there. And she was trying to find the backdoor exit. So when I showed up, she was a little less happy with me, but that was the start of the day. Getting to hang out with the other people that were dancing was so fun. Everyone was so nervous, and obviously this isn't something we normally do. So we were all going out of our comfort zones a little bit. I was so glad there weren't that many people in the crowd, but to finish it off, we messed up several times. Luke forgot a huge part, which made me forget the next huge part. So there was this like 20-second moment where we're just kind of vibing, we're just hanging out. And at the end of it, we actually auctioned off the shirts we were wearing for more money for the foundation, and they did great. They raised a lot of money, so it was a successful event. But sometime the next day, I get a text from Luke that says, "Did you post the video?" I said, "Absolutely not. I did not post the video." About 5 minutes later, I get a notification. "You've been tagged in Luke's video."
Oh, no.
No. And sure enough, he posted the video without my consent, and it is everywhere. And I have heard from so many people who have seen it. Once again, if I had known how many people would have watched that video and that it was going to be circulating on the internet, I'm not sure I would have been so keen to agree on it, to this complete embarrassment. But nonetheless, it was fun. We had a great time, but it was definitely one of the most unprofessional, professional related things I have done.
Well, if anybody wants to go watch this video, we'll put it in our show notes for you. With a
totally.
direct
Thank you
link.
so much.
There's like 11,500 people who have liked it. I don't even know how many people have watched it. That's just liked it. Like,
I'm pretty sure a lot more have watched it, which that's the problem. Like, they've watched it and they were like, "Oh my gosh, I'm not about to like that."
Well, first and foremost, Western Sports Foundation is amazing. I'm also a part of their board, and the things that they offer to athletes is second to none. Like, we haven't seen this kind of technology application coaching, and it's all for free in the Western industry at all. Like, it's about financials, how to enter rodeos, how to schedule out your social media. I mean, fitness, all the things. Like, there's everything that you could possibly want. They offer, and they bring in the best coaches in the world to do it. And so that's tremendous that they even offer that. So if you guys haven't already, go check out Western Sports Foundation. So it was for a great cause. A few things that, as I have asked some people on these moments of truth, they're like, who does Hailey work out with? Like, have you seen her guns? I mean, in that shirt, like it looked amazing. Like, you look like, little bodybuilder there. So who do you work out with?
Well, definitely not Luke. That would be, it would turn into a whole competition in itself. So that won't happen. But myself and I never really do anything super formal, but I do work out every day. I don't take many days off. Something that I've learned for myself is I'm riding a lot of horses. And when you're riding a lot of horses, you're obviously moving all day long, but if you can focus on, your posture while you're just doing your everyday chores and activities and stuff, can help you go a long way fitness wise, as well as just preventing soreness. So I actually do a lot of yoga and Pilates. I do a little bit of strength training, like a couple times a week. I have to convince myself to do cardio a couple times a week as well. Normally, I don't like to run unless something's chasing me, but it's something that I know is important. So I try and work it in. But doing yoga and Pilates regularly has helped a lot. I have scoliosis, so I've had struggled with back pain. I was a gymnast, so I struggled with more back pain, and even just riding a lot and driving. As much as we drive, it can really be hard on our bodies because there's not a lot about that that's a correct posture or way to use your body. So that's helped me a lot as far as realigning and working on my core and staying strong in that sense. I will say there's no secret. I have had big arms since I was a kid. Okay. I was born with them, and it's always been a game of how to tone them to make sure that they don't just look like extra large arms. So that's just my normal came out the womb physique, and have to work on that every day so that I look more like a girl. And other than that, I lift a lot of hay bales and a lot of saddles and just do a lot of work. But like I said, I make sure that when I'm doing that normal everyday work, I'm doing things in a way that benefits my body and doesn't make me sore or tired or wear on me at the end of the day.
Well, and I think that that's so crucial to everything that we do. We talk a lot about fitness and the education of it and nutrition on here, but everybody is different. And that's what I love about it because, it applies to you differently as it would apply to me and all the things. And I think the biggest thing I've heard from athletes, now I'm sitting up correctly because you pointed out my posture.
I am too, actually. Yeah.
The biggest thing about athletes is just creating that workflow of what works best for you and how it applies. And I love to hear everybody's different scenarios and stories and all that. Yoga is so hard. Like, I thought that yoga was like, oh my gosh, it's like a weenie thing. It's not. Like, the first time I tried to do yoga and shut my eyes and lift my hands over my head, I fell over. Like, it's not something you just dabble in. It's pretty intricate.
It is actually extremely hard if you're trying to do things right, and gets harder over time before it gets easier, just like any practice. I mean, they call it practicing yoga for a reason. And on that note, I work with Paige Lawrence Champion, Richmond's lovely wife.
Yeah.
And years ago, she had told me to try Pilates. And I was like, that sounds like it's, for babies. Just, I don't know why anybody would do that. And I reluctantly started doing Pilates as well. And when I tell you that is hard, like that is actually really hard. So if you're doing anything regularly and you're trying to do it well, it will be hard. But I've enjoyed those mainly because traveling, that's something I can do anywhere. It doesn't require equipment, doesn't require a lot of space. I can literally do it in the trailer. So that's helped a ton as well. And I think you're right, figuring out what works for you and what you can create into a routine, because regularity is so important. Discipline is so important. My friend Dusty Tuckness posted something the other day about having a physical win once a day. You need to have a mental win, you need to have a spiritual win, and you need to have a physical win. And it's all about disciplining yourself and your body and your mind to accomplish at least one thing each day. And then you can check that box of like, I went the extra mile. And I think a physical win is so important for a routine so that you know that you're putting in your best effort every day to improve yourself in some way. And over time, that turns into a habit that you don't really want to go without.
Yeah. Well, and I love that, a physical win. And Dusty Tuckness, one of the greatest, very inspirational. If you don't follow him already, you need to go follow him. Every day he has something great to say. Talking about Paige and Richmond, they're awesome. I've also worked with Paige, work with her right now on a business program called The Arena. And Richmond was our first Yeti Moments of Truth. And he challenged me, which I've not yet done it. Preparing myself with some cold showers. He challenged me to taking a 9-minute ice bath. 9 minutes.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, challenge accepted. Talking about competitive. You're talking about Luke. Like, I think we're all just a little, crazy competitive. And so I'm like, of course I can do that. Of course I will do that, And so now I'm like, oh my God. So I've been taking cold showers to try to prepare myself so that I can like work my way up so I don't wean out, because I'm not going to lose. I might die of hypothermia. Not going to lose. Yeah.
I tell you what, I will for the physical win for myself, I will be there with a video camera when you do that, because that sounds like absolute terror to me and
He said it
self-torture.
was
But
easy. He
no,
said it
it's
was easy.
he said a lot of things. So
Mm-hmm.
make sure on your moments of truth with certain people meaning Richmond, that they're actually true.
Yeah, it was really, I was like, okay, well, duh, challenge accepted, no problem. Um, okay, second moments of truth. I guess it's the third one. We're kind of changing a little bit of gears. You've got this dog called Winston.
Winston Churchill.
I,
Yeah.
I never thought I would see you with a basset hound. Cutest dog ever. Most obnoxious dog ever, too, kind of like a little cute, obnoxious thing. Tell me about Winston and how that came about.
Well, I never would have wished that upon myself either if I had known. So I grew up with dachshunds. My grandmother raised dachshunds, and so we always had dachshunds. And they are really smart and very conniving. And a basset hound is like a larger version of a dachshund, but not smart. They have the same effort to be conniving, the same like little kid tendencies. Like he gets a look in his eye and you know he's about to do something real bad, and he just tries it even though there's no way he can get away with it. The least athletic dog on the planet, and the biggest irony, I guess, is that I also have a blue heeler who is an athletic, smart, trainable dog. And then I have the absolute opposite in Mr. Churchill. So yeah, he's a hilarious addition to my life. More so just entertaining than anything. I don't know that I could recommend those dogs to anyone unless you have kids. And I truly feel like Winston missed out. Like he should have been a kid's dog, and unfortunately, he's a 29-year-old single woman kid's dog. So he has a great time at the rodeos. He goes almost everywhere, and he always finds children, which is unfortunate because my healer hates children, so I have to keep them pretty separated. But yeah, he's had many occurrences where I come around the trailer and there's kids just sitting on the ground with him, and like it's all our rodeo kids that we know and love. But I'm glad that he can entertain them. I was at Houston a few weeks ago, and I had gone to town, and my trailer door, I didn't get it latched, and I came back and the door was open, and I panicked. And of course, we're at the rodeo village, so it's safe, but there are people driving around, and Winston has no self-preservation skills. So I'm thinking, gosh, I just hope he's okay. And I can't even find Steely, my healer, and I'm running around. People start pointing that oh yeah, I saw some dogs come by here. And I get to the very end. I was parked down by the stall barn, and I get down by the hospitality, clear to the other end. And both my dogs are at someone else's trailer, random person's trailer. There are 3 kids playing around with them. And Winston is in the middle of these children playing a game, and Steely's under their trailer scavenging for whatever food or trash they have, and they're both perfectly content. Like, so that would be how I would describe their natural state. Like they literally went out and found it, and Winston found 3 children to play a game with while I was gone. So
and they were like, oh hey mom, how's it going?
Exactly. They looked at me like, yeah, we entertained ourselves, no problem. So yeah, they're a lot of fun. I love having both of them around. They're definitely he's a lot more work. She's pretty low maintenance and kind of sticks by me like Velcro. But him, I have to kind of get out, and before I even unload a horse, tie up Winston because he's gonna leave. So it's been a lot of fun.
He gets more attention than Sister, which, on the road, I think is so much fun. Like everybody, we pretty much pack up our lives and head out everywhere we go. Like we're living where we're at and with all of our animals. And, I'm surprised you don't have a cat yet. Maybe that's something to come.
It will come.
It will come. Yeah. Just give you time. You have a cat, Winston, and your blue heeler if the blue heeler doesn't eat the cat. So I hear that you are a pretty good karaoke girl. Where did that come from? And
where did you hear that? First of all,
I can't tell you where I heard it because these are moments of truth, right? Mm-hmm. And so, but I heard you liked karaoke and you're pretty good at it.
I have some skill, is what I will say, and the main amount of skill I have is the same one used in the dance competition, which is not affirmed by actual talent, but just guts. Like, just, you know what? I'll just go for it. I'll just wing it. So yeah, if there's the right moment, the right song comes on, I can hang for sure. I can at least bring the energy is what I can do, which is very odd.
What's some of your favorite like go-to jams you want to karaoke?
Well, I mean, if I'm gonna karaoke, I'm gonna sing the Dixie Chicks or Shania Twain. I mean, but if you throw on some, you know, old school Elvis, I can figure it out. I will get there. So yeah, I don't know if there's necessarily one song, but if I look at a list, I can probably nail all of them. Just like any good person that travels for a living, you listen to a lot of music, and you don't just listen to your favorite kinds. You listen to everything because you've run through your favorite kind way too
over
many
and over,
times.
over and over again. Well, I tell you what, when I was little, I used to shut the TV off. We had a big screen TV downstairs in our entertainment center. I would shut the TV off, play Shania, and I would like dance to all those songs. No, I didn't. I mean, I sang some, but I'm not going to go ahead and say I've got as much guts as you to sing, but I will dance. So you can karaoke and sing Shania, and I'll come up with the dance moves. I'll be like your backup dancer.
I am just so happy to hear that next year's Dancing with the Rodeo Stars competition will feature Jordan Joe Hollabaugh as one of the professionals, and she's actually going to be taking my spot.
As long as you sing, I will dance. Maybe it could be a sing and dance show. And then we could have Winston tied up over there.
Tied up in the corner.
Mental support.
Exactly. He'll be entertaining the children. Yeah, we could probably make a killing out of this. I think so.
Well, I think it's fun, needless to say. Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Let's talk about Sister. Who doesn't love to talk about Sister? As I was going through and stalking you on social media to find some good things to talk about, which I mean, I told the young lady that works with me, I'm like, I know Hailey, but I don't know any dirt on Hailey. Like, I want to know dirt. I don't know dirt. So I'm like, well, I guess I'll just have to go with the good stuff then. So, Sister, I mean, like you said in your post the other day, there's really not any words to even say at this point. Like, every dream you've had, maybe even dreams you didn't have, life-changing horse, a legacy. It will always be remembered Hailey and Sister, always. What does that mean to be able to get to experience that and have experienced that day in and day out of your rodeo career?
Man, she's just incredible. More so because I see her on a daily basis as a horse. And it's crazy because as much as she's performed, she's still to me such an ordinary horse. And like I know they say the great ones know. I swear to you that one doesn't. That she loves running barrels, and she likes me, and she loves to eat, and she will keep doing it as long as I ask her to. And if I stop, she's going to wonder why. But she's not one of those horses that just walks around with this ego. I'm sure she knows she's good at her job, but she is super fearful of the outside world. It took me like 15 minutes at San Angelo the other day to get to the arena because we had to walk through the dark and you have to walk past pennant flags. And I'm not kidding. This horse was stopping and snorting, and she's 13 years old. She's as seasoned as they come. But that's her. She doesn't have confidence in the outside world, but she trusts me and she trusts her ability. And knowing that, and then seeing her just every day as a happy horse. Just yesterday, I was messing with her, and I'd rode her, I'd put her up, and she just stood there for a second, and I just started scratching on her, and I realized that's what she was standing there for. She was standing there for attention, just like a normal, just like an animal. And a horse that did this because it was just their job and they knew they were the greatest wouldn't need me like that. And she still does. She's a little insecure, and she's also a little proud. She's just such an interesting mixture of all these emotions. And she's the kind of horse that puts all of her emotions into every run. She sees everything. She's not the horse that blacks out the noise and the lights and stuff. She sees it all and performs in spite of it. And I think that's partly what has made her difficult over the years, but it's also partly what's made her so good. She doesn't do this just like a machine. She goes out there and thinks through it every single time. She's super adaptable. She does these crazy, strange things. Like if I'm anywhere near a vicinity of a rodeo, she watches the whole perf from wherever she can get. If I put her on the wrong side of the trailer where she can't see, she gets mad. She wants to watch all of it. If I go up to the arena, to this day, she has to see the arena, maybe not get in it, but see it, at least be able to put her head over the fence before we make a run, or she doesn't feel safe to make that run. I have to shove my way through the alley and ask the nice guys sorting stock to just let me up there, I swear, because otherwise we will snort the whole way to the first barrel and she's not going to get there. She has to make herself feel comfortable, but I also think she likes the environment. She just needs to see that that's what it is. I was at a rodeo in, I think it was Sydney, Iowa. And at Sydney, you park a ways away in a grass pasture and you have to ride a pretty decent ways. And it was in the dark down this hill. And she's snorting the whole way down there. I'm worried that they're going to start the barrels and I won't even be there because she's taken so long to get down there. And I get pretty close. We pass a goat roping. She's panicked about this goat roping. And I get to the arena and I can't get in the alley because they've got it shut off. So I go around to the side and they are on the mutton busting right before the barrels. And I get to that side gate and she, kid you not, hangs her whole head over the gate so that she can see into the arena and takes this big sigh. Like, oh, it's just a rodeo. Like, well, where else did you think I was taking you? I mean, that's all we do. But
she's like, you went past this goat roping and I was really afraid over there.
Exactly. I was terrified. And now she's watching sheep run, but it's like the fact that she could see an arena and the people just gave her this like, oh, I'm just here to do my job. I like my job. And she won the rodeo. And I mean, that's just kind of horse she is. She's so thoughtful. She sees everything. She's so smart. She's pushy and difficult. And I think that's partly what's made her last so long. She's so sound because she takes care of herself and she still loves competing. I keep waiting in, and not in a hopeful, expectant way at all, but just to be a good horseman, to see a change. You know, she's 13. We've been doing this. The first year I made the finals, she was 6. So at what point is she going to slow down or even just get tired of it? At what point is she going to be like, I don't want to do this anymore? And she hasn't given me any inclination of that. It's crazy. So I'm trying to be very able to see that if it comes, because I don't want to be a greedy person. I don't want to be somebody that's just doing this because that's what we do. I want to always do it because she wants to, because that's why she's been so good.
Well, and one of the things I love, and you talked about this, but I've seen this every time I've seen you. I'm like a behind the scenes person. Like my favorite parts of the rodeo is to go out there and watch, but just watch everybody else. And you know, one of the things I think that is overrated is we are people at the end of the day at the rodeo. Like we're still normal, everyday humans living life. So I like to go back and watch everybody and just see what they do and what they don't do and how they're competing. Try to pick something up from all of you guys that are different athletes that maybe I can add to my toolkit, you know. But I have seen you and Sister over and over again ease to the front of the gate, sit there, pet her, let her see it, talk to her. I mean, I don't know how many times I've seen that. And I just loved that about you. So this, you'll laugh at this. So I'm like, why is she doing that? I'm like, maybe I should do that. Wonder why she's doing that. So I'm like, I'll try it. You know, I'm like, I'm not ever gonna, she won't ever know. So I'm like, I'll try it. And my mare loves the saddle bronc. Like I think in her past life, or maybe, you know, current sometimes, she wants to be a saddle bronc horse. Like she loves it. Literally, she watches every bit of it. Like they don't scare her. She's all about, or bareback, either one. But I started taking her up there and letting her see the arena and just sit there. And the amount of peace that it, like you said, and it's different than Sisters, but it just brings a peace. And it's like, okay, I'm here. I know what I'm here to do. And I felt that. And I did that because I watched you do it. So funny, ironic story. But I just thought that was so super sweet that you did that with Sister. And you could just tell the connection with you two. One of the things I value as a competitor between you and I is the fact that you always put your horse first. And not just Sister. Every horse I've seen you ride, you do it differently. And that's something that I think is acquired. Obviously we all love our horses, but like having that horse person connection is so hard to maintain and to even get and be on that same wavelength. Cause Most of the time we're going crazy and they're like, oh, look at that stupid human over there, you know? Um, if you were going to give some advice on how to best manifest that between you and your horse, from barrel racer to breakaway roper, because I mean, yeah, we do two different things, but it's really not that different horse wise. I mean, you have to have a level of horsemanship to be excellent at both. What are some pieces of advice that you would give to people listening to maintain that horse person connection?
Well, first I will say it's not like it comes completely naturally. So don't expect it to come completely naturally. You may say like, well, that's just not my personality, or I'm more high energy and I don't notice things. It is a learned trait, and it's something, I'm a studier by nature, so I enjoy it, but that doesn't mean I have to, don't have to tell myself every day. I I create workout plans for my horses. And that probably sounds super, super weird, and I probably shouldn't tell anybody that, but I do. I have spreadsheets, and they're by horse, what they're doing each day and how we're improving. And it helps me stay organized in my mind about how I'm preparing them for each event and how I'm keeping them from getting sore and keeping them from injury because they're prepared. And it's nothing I do is haphazard. Everything is intentional. And it was a struggle early on, not so much with Sister. That came a little more naturally because she was giving me her best, so it was very easy to give my best back to her. It was harder to develop that same bond with another horse because, one, you almost feel like you're gonna cheat on her. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's my, my girl right there. That's my partner. And how could I apply that same level of care, or more so just connection, to another horse? Thankfully, I had a lot of great horses that were patient with me while I learned how to do that and learned how to balance it across the board. But in the end, she's the one that taught me, so I'm grateful. But she's also the one who inspires me that not every horse will give you the same effort that she does, and she won't every time. You can say all you want, oh, my horse gives me 110%. There are days. Even with Sister, yeah, even
Yeah.
her, there are moments. So it's in spite of that, instead of waiting for your horse to show up for you first and then saying, well, once they do, I'll put in 110% back to them. It's you being the catalyst. You be the first one to show up and give them every opportunity to be successful, and be attentive, catch on to the little things, spend time with them. I just the other day, for the first time, and I won't criticize people who do this, but this just to explain my personality, for the first time flew to get on a horse and like to compete. And it was very out of my comfort zone because I am so used to driving them myself, preparing them myself, saddling, doing all of the things myself, because that's how I go through my checklist of how is this horse ready? Are they prepared to compete? So, if you're more talented and have more resources to do it all and still keep that mindset, great. I know for myself, I need to be there. Even in the back at the NFR, my mom takes care of my horses during the day, but I show up at least in the morning before I go sign. And then I'm back there and I am the one that puts the saddle on her every night. Not because it matters. I mean, my mom can saddle a horse, but for me, that's how I feel like I have paid attention to all of those things. So whatever, kind of back to a routine and a pattern, a set of habits, whatever it takes for you to make sure that you're showing up and noticing every little detail about your horse, knowing them, knowing what their normal is. And it takes time to learn that normal. I've had her for over 10 years now. So of course, I know little things about her that I'm still learning about others, but I'm still going to apply that same desire to learn each horse every single day. And I think that is probably the biggest thing, is just in inspiring yourself to step out there first instead of expecting the horse to give you their best effort. And if they do, then I'll start doing a little more for them. We joke about that, and it's a cowboy mentality. Oh yeah, we'll put the sparkly head stall on when they win something, and that's fine. I don't even like sparkles, but it's the behind the scenes that matters more. When I show up for my horse, the absolute best, they are gonna fail me time and time again. And if it's a new horse, they may fail you for the first 6 months to a year of you showing up every time. But you keep consistently showing up and give them some reason to recognize that consistency. And I'll leave it at this. If you watch Lisa Lockhart and Louie for years, one of the most iconic partnerships in barrel racing, you noticed that he was so consistent. And everybody gave him credit for being so consistent. And he was. He was a kind horse and he had a lot of honesty about him. But the main reason he was so consistent is because she was. She rode to the same spots every time. She did the same routine in the alley. She kept everything consistent on her end. So think about that. If you want that consistent horse, if you want the horse that by nature, by training, learns how to provide that effort for you every time, you have to train that to them, which means you have to be doing it yourself first.
Well, and I love that. And I think that the more I say we're rookies in breakaway roping, we really were as far as pro rodeo goes. Like, yes, this has been around forever. Yes, we amateur rodeoed, went to big jackpots. But before this, it wasn't at this extent, at this level. And the more I've done it, the more my husband, I always used to make fun of him. Don't tell him. I did it to his face too, so it was okay. But he had this routine of the way he put his boots on, the way he saddled his horse, the way and I'm like, good God, like I would put my boots on opposite just to bother him, because he would like freak out, like, oh my gosh, I'm like, I would. I'm like, this is silly. And it is not. Just like you're saying, your checklist, like as you're going through yours, I'm like, yep, I got mine, and it is. It's because you are doing your job every single day in your in your routine. But then to take it to a deeper level, it's like, how are you showing up for your horse? Because I think sometimes in breakaway, which is probably another time for another topic, we show up for ourselves to just rope, and we don't really take into consideration our horse or any of that stuff. You're like, oh, they'll figure it out for us. They'll adapt to us instead of us, like you're saying, adapting to them. So I think that's great key advice. I will wrap it up with this final moment of truth. You have been somebody, as I have watched and seen, and it doesn't feel, I feel like we're the same age, even though I am older than you, like by 4 years, no big deal. That I've admired by your faith, your fortitude, your belief in everything that you do. And you can really, I can see through your actions who you are, what you believe, what you stand for. I know your mom is a huge part of that. I got to visit with her a little bit at San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo. She held my horse. I'm not sure if she slipped her a cookie or not. She might have.
She does that.
But she does that sometimes. She is just a woman of, just peace, calm, patience in all things. And I see a lot of that in you. What do you contribute, all of your faith, your foundation, all that? Is that something you got from your mom? Is that your family? And how do you wish to carry that forward to share with other people?
Well, it definitely comes from my family for sure. I was blessed to grow up with amazing parents and hardworking parents. And I've said it before that the best advice they ever gave me was doing it first. They led by example. So neither of my parents have had an easy life, and yet I watched them through all the things they went through just persevere and keep trying to be kind to each other, keep trying to show up for each other and for their family. And so for me, I have not had the easiest life. Frankly, the last 5 years have been harder than a lot of people probably would sign up for. And I think that it becomes a misconception when you have success in this sport, especially anything where you're on a platform, that, wow, you just have it all figured out. And I guess the best thing I can say to carry it forward is to maybe be a little more relatable to people and say, I don't have it figured out. And I hope we all can accept that about ourselves and therefore learn from it, therefore be able to grow, because I'm 29 and I'm single and I'm not where I thought I would be in my life. I have an awesome career and I have exactly what I want over there. But I've had a lot of conversations with friends lately who are in this similar life stage, 20s and 30s. And for some reason, when we're growing up, we think that by 20s and 30s, we will have all of those 10-year goals checked off.
You have it together with your wizard wand. You're like, voila. Got it?
Exactly. You'll have it all down. That's what we were told. If you set your 5 and 10-year goals, you'll accomplish them. And we're in that moment now where it's like, okay, I should have all the things I worked really hard for. Yeah, like, okay, where's my genie? He's late. And so I've had a lot of conversations with friends who have the opposite thing. They may have the family and personal life they exactly set out for, but they don't have the career, or in any form, there's discontent. And so the best thing I can say is contentment is a learned process. And in rodeo, especially in sports, but really in a cowboy sport, we praise hustle a lot. And that's great. You should have a lot of hustle. But the other thing you should have on the other side of hustle is contentment. Because without that, you don't have peace. You don't have a desire to keep going every day. If I just did everything I do because I hustle, I would be tired. I would be burnt out. I would be a little bit confused as to why I don't have everything I went for because I've worked for it. Well, yeah, guess what? Everybody has. Everyone in this sport works hard. That doesn't make you special. But what can make you special is how you react to what you're given. And whether that's good, bad, or ugly, you can train that reaction side. And that's something I've had to focus on a lot in the last couple years. I feel like I'm getting better at it. And I know I still have a ways to go. The way that I treat people, the way that I speak, to make sure that it's reflecting where my heart is at. But my heart's truly moved towards contentment and being excited about the future and hustling and trying to be better, but also being just thankful for what God has given me, where He has me, and that He has an overall plan that is far better than mine. So if you listen to this and can relate to that at all, I hope that speaks more into you than just get up every day and work your hardest, because we've been told that for years, but in the end, that doesn't lead to peace. That may get you some success, and that's great. And it is a prerequisite for success. You can't do it without it, but you also have to learn the art of contentment.
This is why I started this podcast. If we could we're probably going to have a Hailey and Jordan part 2. I think that speaks to everybody. It speaks to me most certainly, because as you're talking about like the hustle and the grind and all that stuff, like I did all that too. And I got so burnt out. I was like, why am I doing this? I'm tired. I'm done. Like you hit that roadblock and it's like, you can't hustle 365 days a year. And then I started asking myself better questions of like, okay, why am I doing this? And does that align with my priorities? And if it doesn't, I'm letting it go. And I think that speaks to everybody in the contentment, and it's a learned thing, like you said, because I think, my husband says all the time that he wishes he could compete in where he's at now, because his mind, he said, is sharper than ever. And I'm like, great. Yeah. Like sprinkle some of that on me. That'd be awesome. Share the love. But really, the older you get, the more you go through life, and the things we avoid most, right, are the trials and the tribulations. We're like, don't want to do that. No. But that's where we grow, and that's what gets us through. And then when you get on the other side of it, you're like, okay, I got through that. Awesome. And so I think that speaks to everybody. And I think the biggest misconception, like you said, is, yeah, Hailey Kinsel, you've had amazing success, so your life must be perfect, and your horse is perfect, and you're perfect, and there's a fairy godmother in your house and your truck and everything, and voila, like it's great. But sometimes it's not always great, and that's okay.
Exactly. And that is okay. That's the, I guess, overarching theme to me is not just, am I normal? And if you're normal, then great, then we can all agree that we're all normal. Nobody's really fancy or special or sparkly here. But I accept it as not that I am going to just stay mediocre. I'm obviously going to keep working and improving. So I think that's one thing that contentment has taught me is I used to shy away from it because I thought that meant I was settling. I thought it meant I was saying, oh, I'm okay with just not being good enough today. No, but that is a reality that a lot of days I will just be not good enough. And as a perfectionist, I have to be okay with that. And I have to allow the sun to set on that day and move on to the next one and say, you know what, tomorrow I'm going to be better. Tomorrow it's going to work. I have made an effort in I guess more so this year, but trying to be more relatable to people, whether it's our social media platform, whether it's in an interview, to make sure that I think it's more powerful for especially women to know not just how to be successful, but how to have peace while you're striving for success. And the one thing that all humans can relate to across the board is struggle. We all struggle. We don't all have victories. We don't all have triumphs. So if I can speak to that and say I've been there and I'm still there and I'm doing okay and my head's still above the water, then yours can be too.
I love it. I think that's great. Get me all choked up over here. Knock it off.
Oh, goodness. Too early for that.
No, I'm just kidding. I need some more coffee. So I agree. I think you nailed it on the head. And I think that being honest, authentic, real is awesome. And it takes a very big character to do so. So, um, last question I have for you, I ask everybody that comes on my podcast this, which you've kind of answered this several different times throughout your story, but I'll go ahead and wing it for you again. If you had to go back and give younger Hailey a piece of advice, what would it be and why?
Man, I'm sure she can learn a lot and probably just calm down. It'll be fine. That'd probably be the biggest thing I would tell younger Haley. Just calm down. Truthfully, though, I would love for younger Haley to give older Haley advice. And if she was going to talk to me now, I think she would say, be in the moment. I would get places and sit there and stare at the arena and just go, wow, I made it here. And so now, the older I get and the more I get to keep going back, I never want to lose that excitement, that like first time feeling every time I go somewhere. And I think that's where I can learn from my younger self a little better.
Well, I love that. I love that. And I think that everybody needs to have that wow moment and that excitement, because when you feel that, it's something you want to continue to manifest and keep on going in every situation in life and every season. So, Hailey, thank you so much for taking the time to join us on the Yeti Moments of Truth today. It was great to talk to you, and we will see you down the road.
Thanks for having me.